What's up everyone? Welcome to another video. In the previous video, we discussed the concept of identification with the mind and observing the mind. And so here we'll look at tools to help us detach ourselves from the mind and also help us transform harmful and destructive self-talk into helpful and productive self-talk. All right. So first things off, mental noting. Let's start with this tool here. If you're looking to actually practice this, there's an awesome guided meditation on mental noting on the 10% Happier app that is done by Joseph Goldstein. So I highly recommend it. And so mental noting helps with being open and calm when facing difficult situations or with whatever is arising in the moment. So mental noting creates a space between the stimulus, so your thought, feeling, sensation, and the response, so your reaction. So if we take an example specific to an emotion like anger, mental noting allows you to separate yourself from the emotion. So you start by realizing what an emotion is. It's a neurochemical release that creates hormones through your body, which leads to certain sensations in your body. So some thought patterns and some reactions. So whenever you're experiencing an emotion, there's a neurochemical release. There are hormones going through your body, which leads to certain sensations, some thought patterns, and some reaction. You're not frustrated. You are experiencing frustration. It's not who you are. So using a mental note helps in creating this distance between yourself and the experience. I'm not angry. I feel frustration, or I'm experiencing frustration. I notice frustration. But so what can you do to use a soft mental label for each arising experience? And as Joseph Goldstein would say, when we make a note or label, it's like putting a frame around a picture in order to focus your attention and see it more clearly. So you want to gently label different aspects of your experience, sensations, sounds, thoughts, emotions, and step out of a reactive pattern. As you feel your body sensations, you can make the soft mental note of lightness, heaviness, agitation, calm, composed. As you feel some emotions, make the mental note of anger, disappointment, happiness, satisfaction, gratefulness. You probably get the point by now. So keep the noting very soft, like a whisper in your mind, but start noting and labeling your experience. You can also note different situations as they arise and call the attention to it, and make a soft mental note when it's arising. So if we take poker examples from poker situations, so a bad beat, cooler, lucky, variance, losing. So using these words as mental notes, so without the judgment attached to it. So it's neither good or bad, it just is what's going on right now. It's just what is. So again, bad beat, this is what's going on. Cooler, this is what just happened. Variance, winning, losing. Just a soft mental note of what's happening in the moment and no attachment. It's not, bad beat. It's just, bad beat. A cooler. Winning. So being curious, non-judgmental in those situations. So whenever you feel anger rising, that's just an example, you can try to label your experience. First, maybe note anger. Then maybe note bad beat, right? So your experience shifts from an emotion to then a thought, bad beat, to maybe another emotion, so frustration. So notice how your experience changes, fluctuates, how it comes and goes. And maybe the next hand you win, and now you note joy, happiness, satisfaction. And so those emotions too this situation too will not last. So keep noting what you're experiencing. You'll be less attached to these outcomes. So it might go something like this, right? So losing a hand, losing, bad beat, anger, frustration, winning, happy. But like all these words are detached from their from any judgment, basically. And so we're trying to create a place where you're observing your experience instead of being a victim of your circumstances. So that's it. That was it for mental noting. Another strategy that I like around self-talk and your thoughts is this concept of creating an intention. So creating an intention, that's basically a strategy that I've used more and more in the past years. And it's basically the concept of creating an intention for each or for every specific situation that you have in your life or general situations. And actually, let me start with an example outside of poker, and then let's see how we can implement it in poker. So when I have to go through a tough conversation with a relative, or when I see them calling on my phone, I already know that it will be an awful or annoying conversation. So I try to create an intention for that conversation. So my mind state in that moment is that I'm already impatient and annoyed, even though I haven't started talking to them yet, right? Sounds bad, right? And so what do? So I create an intention that will put me in a different mind state or in a different mental state. So here, before picking up the phone, I tell myself patience and kindness, or be patient and kind. So I repeat it a couple of times in my head as I pick up the phone. Patience and kindness. And as I say hi, as I pick up the phone, I can already feel the shift in mind state as I'm speaking to a relative. So I feel patient, and I'm even open to the upcoming conversation. And it wasn't even difficult to just create that intention in that moment. So easily and with practice, you can shift your mind state just like this by realizing how you feel in one moment or what you're thinking about. So I'm impatient and annoyed. Notice it, and then create a new intention right in that moment and see how your mind state, you're able to change your mind state. So I feel like this one actually saved some of the conversations and relationship I have, because they allow me to be actually patient and kind instead of being impatient and annoyed even before knowing what the conversation is all about. So how does that apply to poker now? So you're in a tough session, you're losing a bunch, you're getting coolered one hand after the other. Maybe you're winning a lot, or maybe, and you're getting excited. So what intention do you want to have in each of these moments? I'm losing a bunch. I want to be patient and focused. I'm getting coolered. I want to be disciplined and resilient. I'm winning a bunch. I want to be calm and composed. I feel impatient. Slow and steady. Slow yourself down, one hand at a time. So here, find words with a strong meaning for you. So words that can become your anchor in the present moment as the situation is happening. And then use them as your intentions. So different situations will call for different intentions. If you don't have much inspiration, actually refer to your performance philosophy. Look at your values, at your guiding principles. They can help inspire the type of intentions that you want to create for yourself. Just like my example from earlier came up with this idea of patience and kindness whenever I'm picking the phone. I think that's a good rule that I'm going to try to apply every time I pick up the phone or answer a relative. So same goes for poker. So let me show you an example here of how you can do this, or how you can actually practice it. So for each situation in poker that you find challenging or important, you can create an intention for how you want to live in that moment. In what mind state you want to be in that moment. And so some of the important situation I wrote down, so reaching the final table of a tournament. You're probably overexcited, maybe stressed, nervous. What kind of intentions you want to give yourself as you start this final table? Maybe it's these two intentions. Maybe you want to be calmed and focused. So repeat and recreate these intentions. Whenever you get coolered, remind yourself, be disciplined and resilient. These are your intentions whenever you get challenged by a cooler. Let's say you have a winning session, you're winning a lot of money, things are going well. Maybe you're going to get overconfident. So remind yourself to remain calm and composed in those situations. Whenever you're card dead, maybe it's all about being disciplined and patient, right? You're not just going to try to overplay some hands or try to force some hands. You're just going to be disciplined and patient. So choose or describe important situations in poker for you and create intentions for each scenario that will be helpful to your performance. Here I gave you a couple of examples. Hopefully this was helpful. And something else that you can do when you create those intentions is actually talk to yourself in the third person. So if you speak to yourself in the third person, you might make better decisions, or actually you will make better decisions. So some questions that you can ask yourself is like, what does Frank would do in that situation? What do you want to do in that situation? I'm asking myself this question. So it helps make you make healthier and better decisions. So sometimes we use harsh self-criticism with ourselves rather than self-compassion. So when you use your name and you ask yourself this question, so Frank, what do you want to do today? Or how do you want to respond to that situation? When you use your name, you take the emotion out of it and you give yourself better advice. Actually, that might be something you want to try out. Ask yourself a question using your own name. So that's it for creating an intention. I have one last exercise here or tool that we can use, which is using self-talk. So going back to this idea of inner dialogue, this is what self-talk is. You can think of it as the angel and demon on either side of your shoulders. It's basically a battle between what you should do and what you want to do. And self-talk is a skill. So again, something that can be trained, that you can get better at as you catch yourself in the moment and you reframe your thoughts. So your inner dialogue can be very helpful to help you refocus on what is most important when performing. So to help you refocus on your objectives when facing challenges or setbacks. And so some sort of what kind of thoughts that you have that might influence your beliefs about yourself. Think about the times that you say to yourself, this sucks, or this is hard. What if you shifted this to this is a challenge or this is an opportunity? So here, a small shift in mindset that makes a big difference. So our brain believes what it hears. So our brain believes what it hears, not necessarily what is true or not. It will just run with it. It will just run with what you tell yourself. So pay attention to the words you choose to justify what you're going through. Do the words you choose really represent what's going on? Again, use words that you connect with, that speaks to you. So not words like I can't do this, I suck at this, or I'm bad at this. And here, so basically these three that I've just mentioned are words to notice and pay attention to. So every time you hear a sentence that starts with I can't, I suck, or I'm bad at this, your thoughts here will influence your core beliefs, what you believe about yourself. So check that narrative of yours. Is it helpful? Is it harmful to your growth? Being hypercritical of yourself, does it facilitate your growth or does it hinder it? So you're going to probably realize that it's probably more harmful than helpful to your performance and to your well-being. And so you can basically break down self-talk in two different elements, harmful and destructive self-talk and helpful and productive self-talk on the other end. So ineffective and effective self-talk. It all comes down to its usefulness. So is your inner dialogue helping your performance or harming your performance? For example, like I can't believe how unlucky I am right now. So this is your self-talk. That's probably not useful at all, other than just realizing that you're running bad. On the other hand, maybe you want to change that to, it's just variance, I made the right play. It sounds much more productive, right? I'm not necessarily here saying to get rid of the first one, the first thought, because probably still feels like your reality in that moment, right? So whenever you feel like you're unlucky, this is still your reality, but try to notice it and follow up with a more productive self-talk. Let's think of another example. Let's say you tell yourself, I freaking suck right now. What a stupid mistake. Not really useful there. What about mistakes are a part of the game? Let me tag a hand and review it later. Sounds like something that's much more productive. Another example, I can't win a single putt. Sure, fair enough, you can't win, but you can't change that. But what you can do is bring yourself back to something that's in your control, your decisions. So I can't win a single putt. Maybe it's neutral, maybe it's harmful self-talk. Change it to play your best and make the best decision possible. So that actually brings me to that second question. Are you focusing on how bad you run or how good your decisions are? So where you want to put your focus, your attention, what do you want to tell yourself? Are you telling yourself how bad you're running, or are you actually telling yourself, hey, I'm making good decisions, let's keep this going? You see the difference, the change in mindset, mind state in that moment? It feels much better to think about, hey, look at the good decisions I'm making compared to, hey, look at how bad I'm running. It's just a shift in mindset. So instead of spending time in harmful and destructive mindset, you're actually able to shift your mindset to something that's more useful to focus on. So here's what it looks like, some examples. Already gave some, but just to give you an idea. And just paying attention here, what you think or you say to yourself can affect how you feel. We know that now. By now we understand this. So, and how you feel largely determines how you perform and the decisions you're making. So you can actually choose how you want to feel based on the type of narrative and self-talk you use. So whenever you have harmful, destructive thoughts, what can you refocus on? What kind of thoughts that you can have in that moment that can be helpful to your performance? So some of the examples that I give here. So I freaking suck right now. How about telling yourself, wow, I need to work on this part of my game? Much more helpful and productive than telling yourself that you freaking suck. I'm so unlucky right now. Well, just variance. I made the right play. Keep going. I can't seem to win a single putt. Well, play your best and make good decisions. So again, you see how even if your situation is actually this or this, there are still ways for you to shift that into something that will be much more productive and make you feel much more better about yourself and your performance. And maybe one last comment that I can add before we leave here. Something that you might want to try doing is, what would you tell a friend in that same situation? When someone comes to you and says, I'm getting cooler in every big spot, I've been losing for 6 months, what would you say to a friend here? And use that and tell that to yourself. That's another way to shift or to reframe some harmful, destructive thoughts that you might have about yourself. Think about what you would say to a friend in that situation. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.